There was a prophet in Israel whose name carried weight across the entire kingdom. Kings sent messengers to his door, and generals crossed borders seeking his help. Widows clung to hope because of the stories they had heard about this man of God.
Perhaps there is hope for us after all.
He turned bitter water sweet with a simple bowl of salt. He multiplied a single jar of oil until debts were erased and futures were restored.
The Lord will provide.
He healed a foreign commander of a disease no army could ever conquer. He struck entire enemy forces with blindness and led them helpless into Israel's hands. And when death itself came knocking,
have you brought
he
tragedy
prayed,
upon me by
and
causing
life
the death
returned.
of this boy? Oh Lord.
Miracle after miracle, year after year, the question grew louder in the streets. What kind of man carries this much of God's presence? But the most haunting part of Elisha's story didn't happen while he was alive. It happened after he had been dead for years, his body buried, his tomb sealed and silent. One day, in the chaos of a hurried funeral, a corpse was thrown into that same grave. The moment flesh touched those ancient bones, death released its grip. The man's eyes opened, his chest rose, and he stood alive again in the darkness of a tomb. How does God's power cling to someone so completely that even death cannot wash it away? This is the story of Elisha, a journey that started in an ordinary field. Elisha's story begins in the soil, the kind that clings to your hands and settles under your nails. He was guiding the 12th yoke of oxen, a sign of a hard-working family. He was steadily carving paths across the field, the rhythm of the day simple and predictable. That is precisely when God tends to move in the middle of the ordinary. Elijah approached without announcement, without trumpet or command. He simply placed his mantle, the symbol of prophetic authority, across Elisha's shoulders. A mantle resting for a moment, then lifted again. The moment carried its own weight, heaven speaking through fabric and touch. Elisha knew it instantly. A divine calling often arrives in a whisper, not a spectacle. He left the plow behind and ran after Elijah. The words he spoke were not of hesitation, but of honor, a request to say farewell to his parents.
Please, you must understand.
Elijah's answer carried both freedom and challenge, an invitation to choose without pressure. Elisha returned home only long enough to make a statement that would resonate for generations. He dismantled the plow, the very tool of his livelihood, and used its wood to build a fire. He prepared the oxen as a meal for his community, a final act of generosity. It was a declaration that there would be no turning back to his old life. Then, with the fire behind him and the mantle ahead of him, Elisha followed Elijah. He served as a servant, walking behind a man whose footsteps would train his own heart. Every
Listen closely,
day
Elisha.
with the prophet
The path
formed
ahead will
something
not be
deep
easy,
within him,
but the
a
Lord
steadiness
is with you.
and sensitivity. And then came the day when everything felt different. Elijah's steps were slower, his voice quieter, as if he carried a secret. They began in Gilgal, where Elijah turned to him and said, "Stay here, for the Lord has sent me on." It sounded gentle, like a father shielding a son, but Elisha would not let distance separate them. He answered with a resolve shaped through years of service. "As the Lord lives, I will not leave you." They walked together to Bethel, where the sons of the prophets whispered
Welcome
to
to
Elisha,
Bethel, prophet. Do you know?
"Do you know the Lord will take your master from you today?" Elisha acknowledged them only briefly. Some moments are too sacred to dissect. Again, Elijah urged him to stay behind, and
As the
again
Lord liveth,
Elisha
and as thy
refused to let
soul
go.
liveth, I will not leave thee.
At Jericho, the scene repeated, the quiet request to remain and the firm refusal to part.
If the Lord is...
Loyalty had become the language between them, spoken through footsteps and silence.
I plead
Finally,
with you,
they
open
reached
your
the
hearts
banks
and
of the
receive
Jordan
the word
River.
of the Almighty. Only then shall we...
Elijah folded his mantle and struck the waters, and the river obeyed, pulling back. They crossed on dry ground, just as Israel once had under Joshua. On the far side, Elijah stopped and asked, "What shall I do for you before I am taken?" Elisha did not speak of safety or legacy. He asked for something that revealed his heart. "Let a double portion of your spirit be upon me." He understood the road ahead would be heavy, and he desired the strength to carry it. Elijah's answer was tender. "If you see me when I am taken, it shall be so." They walked a little farther, speaking softly, the wind feeling warmer and heavier. Then, without warning, the air began to tremble. A blaze of glory tore through the horizon, a sound too fierce to be thunder.
My father!
A chariot of fire pulled by horses of fire descended between them. Flames moved like living light, carrying a presence that made silence feel holy. Elisha staggered back as the chariot separated him from Elijah. Elijah was lifted toward the heavens in a whirlwind, rising through light and flame. Elisha cried out, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen." He watched until he could see no more, and the sky returned to stillness. At his feet lay the mantle, the same one Elijah had placed on him years ago. Elisha tore his garments in grief, then picked up the mantle. He walked back toward the Jordan, the waters rushing before him.
Bring me a new bowl and put salt in it.
Holding the mantle high, he struck the river and spoke, "Where is the Lord, the God of Elijah?" The river answered. It divided without hesitation, opening a path. From a distance, the sons of the prophets saw it and understood. The spirit of Elijah now rested on Elisha.
I have healed this.
A new prophet had risen, and heaven had made it unmistakably clear. Soon after, messengers from Jericho approached him about their corrupted water. The
You must
water
pay what is
caused
owed to me
sickness
now.
and death, turning
Please, sir, we
hope
have
into
nothing
a
left.
constant struggle.
Do not take my sons.
Elisha asked for a new bowl filled with salt and went to the spring. He poured
Do
the
not be
salt
afraid,
and declared,
For those
I have
who are
healed
with
this
us
water.
are more
It will
than
no
those who are
longer
with
bring
them.
death.
Please, neighbor, we...
From that day, the spring flowed with purity, a sign of God restoring the broken. Later, a widow came to him in desperate anguish. Her husband was dead, and a creditor was coming to take her 2 sons as slaves.
Heave.
She had nothing in her house
A
but a
transcription
small
for this
jar of
video is
oil.
not provided. This is likely due to the prompt.
Elisha
Easy
told
now,
her
my
to
child.
borrow empty vessels
Tell your
from
father
neighbors
what ails
and
you.
pour the oil behind closed doors. She poured, and the oil flowed, filling vessel after vessel until she ran out of jars. She sold the oil, paid her debt, and saved her family, proving God needs only willingness, not abundance. In Shunem, a wealthy woman built a room for Elisha to rest. In return, Elisha promised her a son, despite her husband's old age. The boy was born, but years later, he collapsed in the field and died. The woman did not accept death. She rode to find the man of God.
The rivers of Damascus, not better than all.
Elisha returned, went into the room alone, and stretched himself over the boy. Warmth returned to the body, and the boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. God, through Elisha, showed that he does not abandon the gifts he gives. Then came Naaman, the mighty Syrian commander who suffered from leprosy. He came expecting a grand ceremony,
Alas,
but was
Master,
told to wash 7
was
times
borrowed.
in the Jordan. Though offended at first, he obeyed, and his skin was restored like a child's. Naaman learned that obedience opens doors that strength cannot. One day, the sons of the prophets were cutting wood by the river. An axe head flew off a handle and sank into the murky water. The young man cried out
open
to
his eyes
Elisha,
that he may
for the
see.
axe was borrowed.
For those who are with us are more than those.
Elisha threw a stick into the water, and the iron axe head floated to the surface. It was a whisper to every generation. God cares about our daily stresses. Years later, the Syrian army surrounded Dothan to capture Elisha. Elisha's servant was terrified by the horses and chariots encircling the city. Elisha prayed, Lord, open his eyes so that he may see. The servant looked again and saw the mountains full of horses and chariots of fire. They were never alone. The armies of heaven stood guard. Elisha led the blind army to Samaria, fed them, and sent them home in peace. Finally, Elisha grew old
carries
and
the weight
fell
of the
sick with
Lord.
the illness of which he would die.
Look,
He was buried,
prophet.
a man who had walked
carries the
faithfully
weight
with
of
his
the
God. But even then, God was not
He
finished.
carries the weight of the Lord.
When a dead
It is
man
the
was
prophet.
thrown into
He
Elisha's
carries the
tomb,
weight of the Lord.
the bones of the prophet brought him back to life.
Look,
Elisha's
It is the
story
prophet.
is a legacy that
He carries
shouts,
the weight of the
God's
Lord.
power has no end.